Hello and welcome to Donna's Crafty Creations. I'm Donna and I have a Canvas Workspace project of the week for you. This is going to be what is called a split letter monogram. And I'm going to place this inside of a shadow box. You could make yours into a card or perhaps even use a heat transfer vinyl to apply to a t-shirt or cushion, something like that. It's not terribly difficult to do. It makes use of the process overlap functions of weld, divide, and subtract. So let's go over to Canvas Workspace and I'll show you how it's done. I'm going to be making a really very simplified shadow box. I have just two pieces of card, to be a front and a back, of course. And I'm also going to take advantage of the patterns that are already available in Canvas Workspace in the projects. Let's go over there now, and I'm going to bring in, I've had a look already, and I've selected a couple of these projects which I think have bits and pieces that I can use. One is going to be this spring flower trifold card. I want to use these leaves here and maybe this butterfly and some flowers. And then for the main focus of this, I want to use this. It's a plique pillow here. We don't need the A, we just need this piece here. So you can click on there and we see we've got a lot of things that we really don't need. So we can dispose of those, like the card base there. Don't think I want any of these flowers. I might keep that. Maybe that. We'll see. And perhaps one of the butterflies. But definitely these leaves. And I think the rest we can just delete. Now this is going to be a monogram, but it's going to be a split letter monogram, not just the letter. In my case, I'm going to use D for Donna, and then I'm also going to have my name on here. But we're going to split it, and we're going to use the process overlap to achieve that. And how we're going to do that is, first of all, we'll get our letter on here. And I'm going to select what font I want for this. I want something more along the lines of Book Antigua would probably be nice. Yes, that's fine. And I'm also going to elongate it. I'm not worried about the size at the moment. Just want to get the concept here. So we've got our letter, and now we need to split that letter. So I'm going to bring in a square. Let me just zoom in for you a bit. I'm going to make that a very, very, very skinny rectangle. And I'll place it over top of the letter. It's on top. That's important. And then I'll also align it so it's central there. Then I can go to Process Overlap and select Subtract. Now that, as you can see here, has split that. However, it's still just one shape. You can see that by the one bounding box. So we need to be sure to divide that into two shapes. And so for that we will select Divide. And now you can see there are two distinct shapes. pull those apart, you'll see that there. What I'm going to do though is to align them centrally, and then I'm going to space them apart. Now the 1 inch is the default this time, so I'm going to vertically distribute them at 1 inch. I think that should be sufficient for what I want to do. Then I'm going to now bring in another square and create yet another thin rectangle, but not quite as small this time. And I'll duplicate that. That's going to fit sort of into that area there. I can line that up, either left or right. And if I want to go ahead and center it now, I select both parts of this capital letter here and group them, and group this as well. Then I can align all of them like that. And eventually we're going to weld this in here. But first I'm going to bring in my word, which is going to be my name. I'm also going to space out these letters. So I'm going to go back into properties and use the character spacing to spread those apart. Now if I want to at some point use these as a layer, I can. So what I would do then is duplicate that and just pull it off to the side, and I could have that, whatever color I want, and then just have that glued to the top of this. But I'm not certain at this point, so I'm just going to make a copy and leave it off there. Now I am not happy with this rectangle here. I want to make that wider. And now I'll align it to see how that looks. That's not too bad. And then I want to make sure that this is going to overlap these two rectangles here. So I can either bring the rectangles closer together or simply elongate the word. And then I can weld that. And again, if you want to keep any of these bits here, now would be the time to do that, so that you've got those available. But I'm going to select all those pieces and then weld them together. So I've got one complete shape here. Now it's time to work on the main focus of this, which is this piece here. And I'll make it a little bigger at the moment. I think that's probably too big. Let's bring that down to about maybe about 9 inches. We'll work with that to begin with. And then this is going to fit into here, and we will resize that as well. But let's just pull that off, and let's get this completely decorated. So I'm going to bring in these elements here that I have. I'm going to make a few copies of this. Probably flip some of these around, make some of them smaller. So that I can weld those into place. course, you can do whatever you like. You could eliminate some of these, you could replace them with something else. It's all up to your own aesthetic. Let me duplicate this one. And again, if you want to keep these, then you need to make copies now. I can duplicate those and pull them off to the side here. I'm going to weld these now. Take a look and see how it's going to look, and if I'm not happy with it, I can always use the undo. And that looks pretty good. Right, now let's bring in maybe a flower that we could use over here. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is put that inside of here. Just to give it a little more pizzazz, I guess you could call it. Let's duplicate that, and I might put one down here. I bring in this little flower here. Let me bring my letter in. I can get this set up where we want it to go. Now, at the moment, what's going to happen is this would actually cut out, so I don't really want that. I want it to be attached or welded. So I'm going to bring a circle in to do that, so that I can make this into more of a frame. Let me go ahead and punch those flowers through though first by using subtract. Then I'll bring in my circle and align it. And now I can punch that through. Oops, it needs to be on top, so that needs to go to the back. And now we can align it and punch it through. So then we can bring this in and have that welded. Now it doesn't matter if it's to the front or the back. To align it, then I'll weld that together. Now I can always, inside of my shadow box, place a piece of decorative paper behind here. Just to kind of give you an idea. Let's say this is your paper behind that. Arrange that so you can see. Then you could add that second color, but I'm just going to use the one color for now. And then I can decide if I want any other pieces in here. I might use that butterfly still. Maybe I could do something like this. Let's see if that would be a bit loose there, so I might want to be sure I've got it overlapped like that. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. And that's not too bad, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it though. So I can go ahead now and just delete these if I don't want to use them, or as I said, keep those, and then you can cut those out of different colors of cardstock and then paste them over top of any of this, really. So let's just go ahead and delete that, and now let's build the little shadow box. Now this is really quite easy, just 2 squares. So we're going to start here with the lid, and I'm going to make that lid, let's make it 10 inches. I think that should be enough. See how this is going to fit inside. Yep, I think that's alright. So I'm going to make this 10 inches. It's going to be a little smaller after we finish. You can make yours whatever you like. You can make it 11 inches. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to put it up here in the corner so that we can put some score lines in. We'll put it at 0 for the X and Y, and then I'm going to lock that so it doesn't move around on me. And then I can bring in my score lines. In the first score line, I'm going to make a vertical score line. And I'll change the dash pattern there. I'm going to place that in at 3/4 of an inch. So 0.75. And then I'll duplicate this. And I'll bring this one over to 9 1/4. So that brings it in 3/4 of an inch. I can even shorten those up just a little bit so they don't go past the edge there. And then we'll put in our horizontal lines. Now for the horizontal line, we're only going to put it between these 2 vertical score lines, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. Let's get our first one in here. And that is going to be again placed at 3/4 of an inch in, so it's going to be Y 0.75. And then I'll duplicate that, and I'll bring this down to 9 1/4, so 9.25 is to create some cut lines here to make the glue tabs. They're going to be in this section here, this 3/4 of an inch section here, this one here, and then at the top. So all we need to do is make a cut line here, and you can actually bring that out past the edge there because it's going to completely cut through. Leave your line as a solid line, and then make sure it's at 9.25 in this case. We'll duplicate it, bring it over here. And then I'll put it at the top as well. So that will be at 0.75. On that side and 0.75 on the other. Right, now we do still need, actually let me just bring that in. So it's going to cut through there. I'm going to put an aperture in here, but before we do that, I'm going to make a copy of this so that we can use it for the back of the shadow box. Now the back has got to be a different size than the front. So one has to be approximately 1/8 of an inch larger than the other. So I'm going to leave my lid at the 10 by 10, and I'm going to change the back side to 1/8 of an inch smaller. So just to make life easy, first of all I need to unlock that, and I'll select everything, I'll group it and duplicate it, and then I'm going to change the size. I'm going to reduce it by 1/8 of an inch. Now the reason the width is wider here than it was before, instead of the 10 inches, is because this score line or this cut line has extended. But all we have to do though is change the height, and keeping the maintain aspect ratio clicked on here, it will automatically adjust the width. So we'll change this to 9.875, and there is our back of the shadow box. Let's go back to this one now, and we need to ungroup this because we need to put an aperture in here, and to do that we'll have to cut through here. So we can't have any of these score lines in the way or selected because they are not completely closed shapes, they're open paths, and therefore the process overlap function will not work. So I'm going to bring in my aperture, and I'm just going to use another square. You could make a heart or another shape other than a square, that would be fine. I'm just going to decide how large I want this. Let me look at that. 8 inches probably be alright. Actually, I think I'll take it down just a little bit. And then I'm going to line this up with the lid. So I've selected the lid. You can see the blue up here because it's not grouped anymore. And then I'll select this square and align it horizontally and vertically. Then I'll be able to go to the process overlap and subtract, and that will cut that through. Then I can just send that to the back, and our score lines and cut lines are all in place. So now you can go ahead and group this. And we'll be able to work on that. Now I'm going to bring this in so that I can now attach it to this frame here. Let me bring this in a bit. I'm going to bring it to the front. And I think I'm going to just resize that a little bit. Can overlap on the sides there because this is going to be welded in. I want enough of an attachment there so that it doesn't weaken those points. Then I'm going to line this up. Now, because this is, again, grouped, we need to ungroup it. We'll select the frame and decoration here. Line those up. And now we can weld them together. And if we're happy with that, then we're ready to send it, or we can use the undo and make any changes that we want. I'm going to go ahead and send this to the back though, and then I will also group it together so that when I send it to the machine, it's going to stay in place. All my score lines and my cut lines are going to be in place, as well as my main decoration here. So I'll group that. I'll get it onto the mat. I'm just going to bring this one in as well and send them both over together, and then when I get to the machine, I will retrieve them, and then I can just delete which of the shapes I want to first, and then cut the other one out. So I can now export this or transfer it, and I'm going to use the internet because I've got a Wi-Fi machine. If I didn't, or if I wanted to, I could just put it on a USB flash drive and plug it in. But I'm just going to transfer it now, and it's ready to cut. So join me there, and I'll show you how. Here are all the pieces cut out, just the two of course. We've got the front of the shadow box and then the back. And to put this together, remember we've got those little slits there that are going to form the glue tab. So all you do is fold the back on those score lines and then just fold in the glue tab like that. You can use either a liquid glue or even a double-sided tape, whatever your preference is. I'll make sure that that is squared up like that. Hold on to that for a moment. Give it a little bit of time to grab, and then I'll repeat that on the other three sides. Right, I've finished those sides, and I'm just completing the final tab on the front, doing it the very same way as the back. Just hold those in for a moment, give them time to go off. And now, because this is slightly larger, the lid is slightly larger, and that should just pop right over that, like so. Now, to make this stand out, since we've got it in this black, I've got a piece of card here. I can just pop in there. And then fit this back over, and we have our completed shadow box with the split letter, monogram, and name.
Really easy to do, and of course you can do whatever you like. You can make whatever sort of frame you like, and then you could either have it stand on a little stand that you could make, or you could put a little hanger in this and hang it on the wall, whatever you like. Really, really quite easy to do, and so nice to make as a personalized gift. I do hope you enjoyed this video and that you're going to make one of these shadow boxes yourself using the split letter monogram, or you could even make it into a card if you like, whatever you desire. So thank you so much for joining me. Be sure that you are subscribed to the channel. If you're not already, I invite you to do so today. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that you'll know the next time I upload a video. And in the meantime, please do take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye.